Hi, Chris Waddell. Welcome to Gadgets and Gravel. Today, I'm going to be going over a battery backup system for my home. Now, there are many reasons why somebody might want to do something like this. For me personally, it's a bit of peace of mind. Living in rural Kansas, storms, just by proximity of living in a rural area. A lot of times seems like we tend to have more power outages than those who live in more urban areas, whether it's just bigger spans between power lines, distances from power stations, older systems, storms just tend to affect rural areas a bit more. So I want to make sure I'm covered. My family is taken care of. We don't have to worry about anything knocking out power when we need to keep some essential things going for heat, cooling, refrigerators, freezers, things like that. So I've opted to go with the EcoFlow system, paired up the EcoFlow Smart Home Panel 2 with the Delta Pro 3 portable power station and expanded battery. Get this out of the way, full disclosure, EcoFlow did provide installation and the devices themselves at no cost to me. However, they've got zero input on this video and will not see this prior to publishing. Now, with that out of the way, let's move on to the rest of what we got here. So let's go ahead and get out of the way, kind of the differences between doing a battery backup system versus a traditional generator. If you do a generator, the benefit of that is you're only limited by the fuel. When it runs out of fuel, it stops. But until then, it's going to continue giving you power. Put more fuel in it, keep going, no problem. The downside is going to be you're going to have some situations where fuel may be inaccessible. You may not have enough fuel on hand. If it's one that you have to manually feed gasoline or diesel to, if you've got it hooked up to a propane tank, you're a little better set off with that. But there also may be some maintenance that's going to be required on it. You're going to have to make sure, if it hasn't run for a while, you need to run it. Make sure that everything's operating as it needs to be. Keep oil changed, make sure fuel keeps stabilized, things like that. Other half is also, it's a bit noisy. So you do have to contend with that. Although modern generators for backing up homes tend to be a bit quieter, but it's still something you're going to have to contend with. Benefit of doing a battery backup system is you have no maintenance. It's quiet. Now, the downside is that energy stored in your battery is finite. It will run out unless you've got something to keep it powered up. Solar is a great option because in addition to backing up your home, using a battery backup system and a smart home panel like this, you can offload some of your circuits in your home for, say, your refrigerator, your freezers, air conditioner, and other things like that. You can offload that off the grid, meaning you can have solar panels feeding the batteries, keeping them charged up. And during the day, when the sun is out and the battery system is set up and has enough capacity, it'll go ahead and run everything in your home off the batteries in the solar panels rather than needing to pay for it from the grid in the electric company. So that's a great benefit. You also could just have a generator, portable generator for those cases where power is out longer than your batteries can help keep it running. A generator can be set up to recharge your batteries to kind of offset some of that if you don't have enough solar to do that. EcoFlow does make a generator, which is really nice. The great part about the EcoFlow generator is it is a smart generator, meaning when you plug that into the battery pack, you can set up that if the batteries hit a certain percentage of charge, so say they get down to 20%, that generator will automatically kick on, recharge your generator, or your batteries. And then once it hits the charge level you set, whether it's 100% or 90%, it'll automatically shut off. So it kind of takes some of the guesswork and manual requirements off of you to keep your system running. So those are some of the pros and cons between having a traditional generator backup system or going with a battery setup using solar panels or a generator to kind of offset some of that for you. All right, as far as what the Smart Home Panel 2 is capable of and what is required in terms of electrical input, electrical output, measurements, things like that. I'll go ahead and put all that stuff up here on the side of the video so you can kind of check it out, pause it, get everything you need for that. I'll also go ahead and make sure I put up what battery stations and different power stations, things like that from EcoFlow that you can use with this setup. I'll go and put that up and list it as well. Make sure I put links to everything down below so you can check all this stuff out and make sure you get what you need for it. All right, so let's get into what the Smart Panel actually is. So the Smart Panel is essentially it's a sub panel for your home. So if you've got a a separate building, you need to get power to it, you would run a sub panel over there, which would be connected to your home's primary panel, or in a situation you want to run a bit more of a manual backup system. The sub panel essentially just takes circuits off of your main breaker, which usually resides in your home, and puts it in a different box so you can kind of control it differently. Or if you need, like I said, a different building needs power, you can control it separately that way. In this case, we've got a sub panel that has some intelligence in it, some smarts in it that will help manage power outages for you automatically and take that off of your plate. EcoFlow sub panel, Smart Home Panel 2, can be flush mounted like I have it here. It can also be inset into a wall. It is highly recommended that you have a professional electrician install this for you. Unless you are certified to do so, don't mess with it. Just let them do it. It's just install is just like a normal sub panel. Any certified electrician will be able to handle this for you, no problem. So inside the sub panel, EcoFlow Smart Home Panel 2, again, looks just like a typical breaker box. Uses standard breakers you can pick up Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, whatever your hardware store is. Put that in here. Supports up to a 100 amp breaker with a 90 amp as your typical load handling. So that's what I've got here. I've got a 90 amp breaker in here, taking care of my circuits that I've got set up to be backed up should I lose power. It does come with an interlock. This is great. If you are going to be using any kind of backup, whether that be a generator or battery backup, you need to make sure that there is an interlock. Because what this is going to do is disconnect the main breaker and then allow the generator or battery pack to then feed your system. By doing this, disconnecting this main breaker, it separates your power from the grid. If you do have power fed back through the grid through a generator and without using an interlock, that's what's going to happen. This becomes very dangerous for anybody out there around the power lines, working on it by the linemen. They do not know the power is coming back through. If power is out, as far as they know, it is disconnected. Best thing to do, have an interlock, remove that chance of somebody getting hurt or things getting damaged. All right, that out of the way. Let's get back to the rest of this. Like I said, powering this with a 90 amp breaker. In here, I've got 5 separate circuits, 20 amps for each circuit. I've got a double pull 30 amp here. This is taking care of my air conditioner. So my AC is set up to be a circuit that is backed up if I lose power. So is the garage. My furnace, I do have a fireplace wood stove with a blower on it. And then basically my kitchen with my refrigerator. Make sure the food stays good. We're gonna lose all the money in the food. Keep things good there. That's what I got. Those are my primary circuits that I've set up. There are expansions. I can put 6 more circuits on here, which down the line may end up doing. But for now, essential circuits are set up to be on here. The other benefit of this panel is it is water resistant. It can be installed outdoors. Comes with a nice sealer on the outside. The door is swappable. You can put the door on this side and open it that way or this direction. While the box itself can be installed outside. This lower section here disconnects from the main panel. This is not water resistant. This would have to be put inside. So if you need to install this outside by your meter or just another place for whatever your setup requires, that's fine. This can go outside. This would need to be separated and put indoors, and whoever's doing your installation would run a conduit with the power to get to this to make sure things stay set up. All right, let's talk about the bottom part here. So like I said, this part can be separated from the main panel and installed separately if need be. Like you can see here, mine's all connected together. Right here is where all the power goes into. So I've got one power setup going into it from the EcoFlow Delta Pro 3 power station and expanded battery. One cable that these two are connected together. One cable comes out, goes in here, handles power and everything in this system. There's slots for 2 additional batteries can be plugged in. This is a proprietary cable from EcoFlow. They provide the cables, everything you need to get this set up. Excellent hardware, excellent cables. They push in, they lock, but a button to disconnect them. They come up with an additional locking option on here so that you can make sure that this is securely connected, because the last thing you want to do is have a faulty connection and cause issues with anything electrical. You don't want to burn down your house. So with all that in there, got 3 buttons to control each of your power inputs. Green means this is connected, hooked up, powered, ready to go. white light up here says I'm connected to the grid. That is currently where my power is coming from, because even though I do have a winter storm on the way, currently, fingers crossed, I am staying on grid power and I will not have to worry about the battery backup kicking in. If it does, not concerned at all. There is another light over here. This is an error light. It's going to turn different colors and blink, let you know there's a problem system inside of the EcoFlow app, which I'll show you a little bit later. In there, you can see what the problem is, what needs fixed. Simple app, wonderful, easy to use, gives you all kinds of information. But like I said, we'll cover that a little bit later. Also, when there is a software update for the system, these lights will turn colors. You'll see it blink yellow or turn yellow, and that's a good way to jump into the app to see if there's an error, but also it's going to tell you, hey, we've got a software update to kind of fix some things, make things work a little bit better. So that's also kind of nice. You can see this in case you happen to not be in your app. This is kind of be a good way to let you know. It'll also turn colors when it is charging the batteries. A great feature of this system is that if you enable it, there's a storm guard feature. So I tend to keep my batteries charged about 80%. It's a good level to keep your batteries at to not wear them out too quickly. It's a good healthy level to keep them at. So the batteries stay at that point all the time. Storm Guard, because this is connected to the internet and I've told it where it lives in my home, it is able to know when storms are coming. So that's really great. And I tell it that if it detects that there's a storm on the way, I want you to recharge the batteries to 100%. to make sure that I'm fully charged, ready to go, regardless how long the power is out. Love that feature. It takes so much off of my plate to having to remember, I gotta go plug those in, make sure I get them charged. Handles it for me, it's worked wonderfully. Been running this system since July of 2024. Had plenty of opportunities for storms, power outages, flips on, covers it, no problem at all. Works great. All right, real quick, I'm gonna give you a quick breakdown of the Delta Pro 3 system. I'm not gonna go into all the details of what the capacity is and what you can do with it. Just kind of let you know what this setup does and what we've got going on in terms of how it relates to the Smart Home Panel 2 backup system. So like I said, this is the Delta Pro 3, the Delta Pro 3 expansion battery. This is just sitting on top of here. It is separate. Purchase it separately if you need it. If you're doing it for backup, I definitely recommend grabbing at least one expansion battery, as it will give you more capacity to power things in your home longer. This is portable, does have wheels on it, so you can wheel it wherever you need to when you're disconnected from your system, so you can use it in your shop, camping, whatever you need to use it for. But in this system setup, these two are connected together with a cable in the back. One cable comes out and connects it to the system. So this acts as one big battery system. The front of this, you can see the state of charge, how much capacity is left in your battery. The outlets on the front are not usable. When you're connected to the system, this just becomes a smart battery to power whatever you've got set up for your Smart Home Panel 2. When this is all disconnected, everything fires back up, ready to go, use all the features of the EcoFlow Delta Pro 3. If you want to know more about this system and what you can do with this portable power station, an expandable battery, and what's possible, leave a comment down below. Put together a video for you and kind of walk through it. Hint, it's really great. Been using this system since July. Had no problems with it whatsoever. So, all right, let's get back into what the Smart Panel. Now, before I go into pricing and things like that and what you can expect to pay for a setup like this, it is expensive. When you compare it to the cost of something like a backup generator that are traditionally used for homes, it is gonna be a little more expensive. However, there are the benefits to it. Like I said, you don't have to worry about maintaining a generator. It's silent. You don't have to worry about fuel and all that kind of stuff. The traditional generator you can use to back up your home. Now, the downside with the batteries are you're gonna have to keep them charged up somehow if you lose power. Like I said, solar is the best option. A traditional regular generator you use to keep running, you'd use it to power outdoor equipment or a normal outdoor traditional home backup generator can also be used. It would take a little more work to get that set up to run to this. Solar is the best way to do this because then you're gonna be able to offset some of the charges you're gonna get from the grid when you are not needing this to back up. It can just operate on its own. But with a setup like this, a lot of that cost is gonna come back to you if you are able to get solar set up. Depending on how much power you're using on your circuits run through the smart home panel too, that'll help determine how much solar you're going to need. But like I said, if you get solar set up on your home and use it to power the batteries within the app, get into that part, I'll show you how the app works in just a second. But within the app, you can tell this smart home panel to operate all of the circuits within it through the batteries. And if you have solar powering the batteries, it is disconnected from the grid, which means you're not paying the electrical company anything to run whatever it is that you have set up to your smart home panel to. So that's going to be one of those ways you're going to offset some of that cost over time, but you're also going to have to consider the fact that you're not going to have to deal with a generator that could break down, fuel, oil, all that kind of stuff. So while there are pros and cons to both, in a long-term setup, and depending on your needs, I would go with a battery system to back up your home. Again, pros and cons of every system. Everybody's home is different. This is a great setup, whereas I know that if the power is out and I happen to not be home and my wife and kids are home, this is going to kick on. She'll have to do nothing with it. She doesn't have to worry about making sure that the generator's flipped on, making sure that it's got proper fuel, making sure it's ready to go. This just takes care of everything for her. So that's one of the main reasons that I prefer this setup. I currently don't have any solar connected to my battery system. That is something I plan on setting up in the future. I'll try and get a video put up for that, so you can kind of show how I'm setting that up and what I've gotten so far out of running this system with batteries in terms of savings that I've got and how it could expand over time. All right, now it's time to get into the app. So I'll go ahead and show that for you, do a little bit of screen recording, so you can kind of see how it works and what you get out of the app. Like I said, it's a pretty simple app to use. It's well put together. EcoFlow does a great job of providing you with plenty of information within the app, so you're gonna be able to see everything you need within it. Make sure you get your smart home panel set up just the way you need it for your home. So over here is the Smart Home Panel 2 in EcoFlow app. So you can see the energy that's flowing in and what's flowing out. When we swipe up from the bottom, you get to see different panels to click on and show you different bits of information. So in the savings, I don't have anything in here because this is where you're going to see power coming in from things like solar. This is showing you the amount of power that's been used in my system per day, week, month, year. This is how much power is being used, and it breaks it down by grid or battery or generator, so you can kind of see where your power is coming from and where it's going. It also shows you different circuits, but we can get into more of that later. You can get to this way by swiping into the circuits and see each individual circuit and what power is being used in real time. You can also go in and click on the grid. This is going to show how much power came in from the grid and how much to the home and how much went to the battery specifically to recharge those. Again, you can break this down by day, week, month, year, whatever you need to see. Here's where we can click on the circuits. Again, see all your individual circuits, how much you have in there, what's being used by each one. On impact, this is kind of gives you an idea of how much is being saved by using batteries and solar. Electrical rates. Now, when we click on electrical rates, if you put in your rate plan, it will kind of help you show you what you've saved in there. Operating mode, this is a great way to set up how much power you want to save for your batteries and how much you want to use to run your system. This is a great part that your solar would come in to help when you kind of break this down and show when you want to use power from the grid or the battery to make sure you're set up for times when power does go out. Getting back into this, we'll look at this circuits directly. Again, another way to do it from the top, easy way to kind of see where your power is going. Now we go into the settings, you can see here we have grid power. You can see grid settings, split phase settings, and maximum input. Split phase settings, here's where you see I have that double pole breaker set up from air conditioner. Maximum current shows what your maximum power is going to be. Mine is set up for 90 amps, like I said before. In the circuit priorities, this is really neat where you can say, I want to make sure that these circuits are going to have power no matter what. Nice to have. These are ones you want to make sure you have, but when power reaches a certain level, cut that off. Storm guard is what I talked about earlier, where the system will automatically charge up your batteries if it detects there's a storm inbound. Operating mode, this is another way to kind of get to that point where you can set up when you want to use battery, when you use your solar. Charge limit, this is where you can set how much you want to get it charged up to. Here's how much power you can determine the maximum input power to recharge your batteries. EPS mode is going to be your automatic backup setting when power goes out. Here's also when you can run a generator directly into your power station to keep that charged up. Then we get into other parts of information for firmware, logs, things like that. All right, well, I hope you've learned a lot from this video, helps you make some decisions on what you might want to do for your home and your family in terms of backing it up, whether it is due to storms, unreliable grid setup from your power company, or you're simply looking for a way to start offloading some of the power needs that you're requiring from the grid, saving some money in the process by being able to charge and keep your batteries ready to go and power parts of your home or your entire home, depending on how much battery you have and how much solar you have. You'll be able to run all of that completely free of charge by hooking up solar to it. Whether that's right off the bat, you install your entire solar array, all the batteries all at once, or you kind of piece it together over time. That's what's kind of great about a setup like this. As you need it, you can add on to it, whether that's solar or power capacity or additional circuits into your power box. This is a great way to do it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on Gadgets and Gravel on the EcoFlow Smart Home Panel 2 and Delta Pro 3 system. Thanks, and hope to see you next time.